Hi guys, my name is Scott and welcome to Scott's Movie Reviews, and today I'm going to discuss Thor starring Chris Hemsworth, Anthony Hopkins, Natalie Portman, and directed by Kenneth Branagh. But before you guys listen to this video and watch it at the same time, thank you for watching this, but I advise you push stop now because otherwise you're going to feel completely spoiled after you listen to this, and then you'll see the movie and like, oh, that's too predictable. So you have been warned. Welcome to Scott's Movie Review, and today I'm going to start off with the plot summary. The movie starts off with Jane Foster, played by Natalie Portman, apparently just finding a cloud in the sky, falling down like this, and then accidentally hits Thor. BAM! And in the beginning, it starts off again with a flashback of when Thor was a kid and how this war of the half man, half ice people and Odin, played by Anthony Hopkins, and his people. So, and then Thor is born. Well, and we never saw how he was a baby, but Thor says, "I'm gonna be the greatest king ever by destroying all these bad guys." I know it sounds kind of weird for me to say that, and especially in this video. But anyways, with his brother Loki, who's younger than Thor, I should say. Years later, Thor almost becomes king, and because they end up being under attack by these half man, half ice people that try to steal the power of Asgard. And Thor decides to think, hey, we should fight these bad guys into their world, the half man, half ice people. And then Odin says, no, you gotta stay here. That's what a wise king would do. And Thor and four of the friends, Sif, Fandral, Hogan, and Volstagg, all, including Loki, disobey Odin by going up to the half man, half ice world. And then, as when the fight is almost over, they almost win, but then there's too many of them to gather up around them. And then Odin comes out and sees that Thor disobeyed him. And then he casts him out by taking his power and his hammer, the hammer that creates power from him. And then he meets up with Dr. Eric Selrig, played by Stellan Skarsgård, and Darcy Lewis, played by Kat Dennings, who you may have seen in other things I'm not going to explain right now, and Jane Foster. And Jane tries to get Thor to tell them about where he came from, but before that happens, they take Thor to the hospital thinking that he was crazy, and then he ends up being um, like strapped like this. But anyways, he escapes that trap and gets out of the hospital, and then Jane accidentally hits him again. Jane is a scientist who is trying to get some cloud-worthy science or whatever you like to call that over with. Well, not over with, but like it's her life. But and then Odin find and then I'm sorry, not Odin. Loki finds out that he was half man, half ice person when he was a baby, and then he betrays their kingdom by putting Odin to sleep by saying something wrong to him, and then he runs over the kingdom of Asgard, and they take him to the diner, and then they see or hear something about a hammer that kind of looks like a satellite that landed on the other side of him. And then what happens is Thor finds out where this hammer is, so he abandons Jane, Darcy, and Eric to get to there really as fast as he can. And then Thor tries to find a horse, but then he ends up going to a pet store and then Jane conveniently runs into him by taking him to Agent Coulson, who, played by Greg, you may have seen him from Iron Man and Iron Man 2, but he steals Jane's stuff, including Jane's book of science. And then, as of Thor gets over there to get not only Jane's stuff but also his hammer, because all of her stuff was completely robbed, and apparently Thor gets captured, and before he beats the crap out of all these security guards, but then he gets captured and then gets visited by Loki, saying that he no longer is allowed up there. And so the four friends think that Loki is the reason for all this happening, of Thor going downwards. And then the four people think that Loki is suspicious and they have to take him down. So they come down to the town in New Mexico, thinking that he is there, and he is, by the way. He's living with Jane, Eric, and Darcy. But as this scene goes on, they're coming up to the place where Thor is at. And then they see Thor, and then this giant robot comes. And then, as if the robot destroys the town and almost kills off Thor, but conveniently, he dies, and he ends up coming back to life by his hammer because of Anthony Hopkins' Odin, who apparently talks in the hammer when he gets cast out. Just say something, I forget the line, but anyways, Thor gets the hammer and goes back up into his world of Asgard, and then fights off Loki and destroys the things that apparently the bridge that takes him to Earth or other planets or whatever. So Odin turns out that he was alive the entire time. Spoiler alert. And it turns out that he's alive, and Loki falls down to Earth, is I'm guessing correctly, and Thor ends up being a god again. And there's a final shot of the movie where Thor finds out what Jane is up to, and she's looking for him as they speak. Credits roll. And so I had some few moments that I thought were funny but cute, like for example that scene where Kat Dennings' Darcy says, "This is going on Facebook, smile," and then he smiles and then takes a picture. But then there were a few moments. It was a good looking movie, good looking effects, and great looking comic book film. I mean, Iron Man, in my opinion, was probably the best out of all these Marvel Studios slash Avengers coming up movie, which I think the Avengers is coming out next year, if I remember correctly. But so, we are here to talk about Thor, not the Avengers, and I like the movie. I recommend it, but there were a few moments when it felt like it was a little cheesy in some moments. I can understand how on Rotten Tomatoes I did this little research about reading how people's reviews are, but I kind of disagree with the ones that went negative on this movie. It's a good movie, but and there's not enough Samuel L. Jackson, which they never also did in the first Iron Man or the Incredible Hulk, which I can understand why, because they wanted to bring him until like late in the movie, except the Incredible Hulk didn't really do that. But my point is, the movie was good, and it was a great one. But it's one of the greats, I am guessing. But it's not nearly as great as The Dark Knight was. Everybody knows that was a great movie because of Heath Ledger and his greatest performance ever. But anyways, the movie was really good. I liked it a lot, and I really hope they make a sequel out of this. And yeah, I guess that's about it. Next week, I'm coming back with you guys in the review of Priest. Oh, and before I go, do me one big favor and sit in the credits in this movie, because there's a little scene after the movie. And I'm not going to explain a lot, but it's about. Well, I'm not going to explain anything now that I think about it, but yes, it is a good ending, and it looks like it's going to set up for the Avengers and a sequel as well. So, yes, I recommend this movie. There were a few moments when it felt a little funny to me, and it was a pretty looking movie. But I'm not going to say I had some problems with it other than its jokey moments, which I'm going to be honest, it kind of threw me off for a second. But then the movie turned out better than it hoped. I mean, I wish the love story was barely there, but I mean, it can be there, but just not as much. But they only showed a little moments, but I wish there could be a little lesser than that. Like maybe one scene of romance. I don't know. But I know there's like only one scene of romance, but and plus they're kissing almost at the end of the movie, and then. But yeah, that kind of got me a little off. But I can understand how they could kiss at the end. I mean, I would expected more like for her to understand him before they fall in love. So, do I recommend Thor? Yes, I do. And next week, I'm coming back with you with Priest in 3D. Either that one or Bridesmaids. You guys can debate. So, thank you for watching Scott's movie reviews and listening to my review. And I hope you enjoy it, and I hope I look forward to seeing you next week for Priest in 3D.